Hey everyone, Eric Thompson here. Hope that you're doing well. Welcome back to our top 10 video series. Now, before we get to tonight's top 10 video, a few things to talk about. Only 5 points, but they're going to go fast. Ready? Number one. First and foremost, thank you so much for your responses to the last video, to the top 10 sci-fi fantasy films. It was so encouraging to see you guys posting and responding and posting your own top 10 lists. I realized that was a tough one, and as my friend Michael suggested, as he always suggests something or other, but he's very wise, and so I listened to him very carefully. Maybe he should have done sci-fi and fantasy separately, but to me they are very much together, and that's how they're just sort of collected, that genre of films. Anyway, thank you for your responses there, and I hope that we get an equally strong response from this video. It's so much fun to see trading of ideas and all that stuff, so thank you for that. Number two, the only criticism I received in the last video was from Aunt Carol. And what did Aunt Carol say? She was very concerned that my bed was not made. Now, we're only a minute and a half into this video, but I am sure that Aunt Carol has already looked to see, and I hope that she is pleased to see that my bed is made, and I have a very special quilt on my bed that my parents gave me for Christmas. So, there you are, Aunt Carol. I hope that you are satisfied. And now, you're free to just stop watching. But, I hope you'll stick around. Now, number three. I am 2 days behind on the blog. We even had a little mix-up. I was supposed to do Back to the Future last week, and then I got it mixed up in my head. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was Back to the Future, and then Thursday was The Box, which I've almost finished, and then Friday is A Bridge Too Far, which is fitting for this evening's, today's top 10 list. But we'll get to that. We'll get to A Bridge Too Far. Hopefully I'll post it today, Saturday. If not, you know how it goes. I appreciate your patience, okay, and just waiting for that stuff to come out. Number four, I got the Sony Vegas HD Platinum 11 whatever video editing software, and it is awesome. And so I'm hoping that by the time you watch this, I've been able to go through and put a couple things in here and there to make the videos more enjoyable and a little more fascinating. And if it's working, it should appear just here over my, well, your right shoulder, my right shoulder to you, but my left shoulder. And so let's see if it's working there. Okay, so there we go. Okay, and so hopefully that will increase the quality of our videos here, but hopefully the quantity, the quality, the content is still acceptable to you all. Now, number five, I want to dedicate today's this week's top 10 to my father, to my dad, because it's something that he and I have shared for a long time, and something we continue to share as we keep watching movies and talk about movies. Thus, this week's top 10 war films. Now, I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to spill some water on myself, and I want to explain something. Now, I want to deal with films that are about conflict and combat. Not just movies that have to do with storylines that are set in wartime. If that were the case, then we would have many obvious choices, because you have many great drama films which are set during wartime. For example, The Pianist. Holy smokes. Have you seen that movie? Adrian Brody? Whoa. You got your The English Patient. So good. 7 Years in Tibet with Brad Pitt. Very, very good. And you also have those two Titanic films. Not the Titanic, but you have Casablanca and Gone with the Wind, set during wartime. Schindler's List, also set during wartime, but they are not focused on the conflict, on international battle, but they are more focused on sort of a dramatic storyline. Even though all of those movies, have plot lines that cross between the actual war and the drama, my top 10, I tried to narrow it down to where all of the drama was really parallel to the action of the battle. For me, that's what makes a great war film, where it really keeps you in there as long as possible. It keeps you in the intensity, in the fight, as it were, okay? So, without further ado, let's get on with it. My top 10 war films. Here we go. Are you ready, Vegas software? Okay, we're good to go. We are ready. Now, number 10, our first of, I think we have two Vietnam films. I think we do. It looks like we do. We Were Soldiers, starring Mel Gibson. My sister and I have loved this film for a long time. We watched it, I don't know, I must have been a senior in high school or somewhere in there when I watched it for the first time. And we were immediately impressed not only by the intensity and certainly the graphic nature of the film, or at least it made an impression upon us, but we also thought it was interesting how We Were Soldiers tried to play three different angles. Not only did it play the angle of Mel Gibson's battalion there in that first initial conflict during the Vietnam War, but it also gave a lot of credence to what things were like back home, back with the army wives, okay, before the TV series, back with these women who sent their men off to battle, knowing perhaps that they would die, and how they dealt with the distance and the separation, and then eventually the news of these men being killed in action. And it also dealt with the Viet Cong. And you have those fantastic scenes in the movie where you're with Mel Gibson as he's commanding the U.S. troops, and then in the same chronological moment, boom, you zip over to the commander of the Vietnamese troops, and there he is, strategizing. And the way that they cut it together, so one guy strategizes, and then he do a counter strategy, and then again, and back and forth. It's just very, very thrilling, very, very good, and certainly a tale of valor of what our soldiers did during that war. Of course, all the politics surrounding it, all of that, I'm not concerned with that right now, but the film itself really stands out to me for many elements, but especially for the way it told three separate stories about the engagement in that fight. And I realize the whole thing with the wives back home in the U.S. is sort of along that drama outside of the conflict, but I don't know. If you've seen it, I think you understand where I'm coming from. It is weaved in very, very well. Speaking of weaved in drama, actually there's no real crossover there. I just had to keep moving. Number 9, Enemy at the Gates. This is our only film which deals specifically with the Battle of Stalingrad, and that's all this movie is, the Battle of Stalingrad. And we follow Jude Law around from his initial landing in Stalingrad and his near death many times to his rise as a sniper in the Russian armed forces. And then who do you get to kill Jude Law in a sniper movie? Ed Harris. And he's the famed German sniper they bring out of retirement to hunt him through Stalingrad. Thrilling, thrilling movie. A great sniper movie. And there are a lot of sniper movies. I'm asking you to look past the shooter. I'm asking you to look past Sniper, and Sniper 2, and Sniper 3. I'm asking you to look past all those and give Enemy at the Gates a try. Also, I remember, oh gosh, we must have been juniors and seniors in high school, or maybe before then, sophomore and junior. And my friend Reese and I, we went to see this, and we drove to Eugene, which is not too far from where we lived, but we drove there to see the movie, and we couldn't find the theater. Even though now, of course, Reese, I'm sure you're aware, it's just right up there off the main drag. We couldn't find it, and so we had to go see it the next day. We stayed at his aunt's or uncle's place or whatever. We went and saw it the next day. So a great story attached to a great film. Number 8, and here's where I definitely want to give credence again to my dad for bringing me up in such a way where I learned about these awesome war films. The Guns of Navarone. Excuse my clicking here. I just want to make sure I'm right on some of these facts. The Guns of Navarone. Also about a single conflict, a single mission in the Greater War. And here, about taking out, you guessed it, the guns on the island of Navarone, which were controlling this particular sort of sea lane and these massive guns that had been built to protect, German shipping lanes or whatever it was. Cast, holy smokes, Gregory Peck, Anthony Quinn, David Niven. It was, for me, it was an all-around solid movie because you had great character and character development. The action drove the story. It didn't hinder it. You were excited about this objective. And because there was really only the A plot, there wasn't a lot of distraction. The movie isn't terribly long either. I mean, just under 2 hours. which for the time was exceptionally long. But watching it now, you think, oh my gosh. But it moves well, it does well, it did very well in the theaters for its time. It was good. It's good. It's a classic war film, and I hope that those of you who have seen it will agree with me that it belongs in a place of prominence. Also a place of prominence, number 6, or we're on 7. Where are we at? I'm getting lost. I'm number 7. I did good thing I got myself. The Great Escape. Now we're going to get into some more movies here that feature quite the ensemble, and The Great Escape features a mini ensemble of huge, huge names in the early 1960s. So let me check my. Okay, we got your Steve McQueen, boom, James Garner, pow, Richard Attenborough, who you may be familiar with as having narrated the the Planet Earth and Blue Planet series. I think he's going to do this new one about the Arctic too. Anyway, James Donald, Charles Bronson, James Coburn. What an exciting movie. Jailbreak movies always seem to do well for whatever reason, and whether it's Shawshank Redemption or whatever it is. But here you have a jailbreak movie that's set during the Second World War, and of course these American GIs, or not all American GIs, it's these Allied troops are trying to escape from this German prison, and the lengths to which they go to tunnel out of this prison. It's amazing. It really is an astonishing testament to what these guys may or may not have tried during the war to get away from their captors. What can I say? What can I say? It is good. It is thoroughly enjoyable, start to finish. And of course you get Steve McQueen riding around his motorcycle in the end and the barbed wire. You know what I'm talking about. That's some good stuff. All right. Number 6. Also World War II. Also, I believe, 1963. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, no. 1977. I'm sorry. A Bridge Too Far, which, as I mentioned before, is today, or yesterday's, Friday the 2nd, is the movie for the review. So that's fitting. I don't know when that review is going to come up, but when it is, you can read more about this movie. But here, remember the idea of the ensemble? It is expanded just a little bit. Here we have James Caan, Michael Caine, boom, Sean Connery. We got more. Anthony Hopkins. You want some more? How about a little Gene Hackman? You're not finished yet? Laurence Olivier. Let's just throw one more in for fun. Robert Redford. Oh, you're not finished? Maximilian Schnell. Ensemble. And I want to share now, just quickly, one of the most striking moments in this film for me. It's toward the end of the movie when the Allied forces, both the American and British forces, realize that their plan has gone totally awry, and all of these GIs are dying in this house they took over, made into a hospital. And this woman, I don't think that she was a nurse. I think that she just lived there, and she became a nurse overnight, tending to these men. And she peeks out from this little cubby, kind of like Harry Potter, the little room that's under the stairwell. That's kind of where she was with her kids, trying to keep them safe. And she says this little prayer, and she asks God to give 5 minutes of silence so that these men can die in peace, or in silence, or in quiet, or something like that. That always struck me so strongly. But really, a tremendous film about Operation Market Garden. And if you know anything about that operation, you know it was a disaster. And this film really captures, the pride of soldiers and how they wanted to hold on to it, and they wouldn't admit defeat. And no, we're going to hold out. And the catastrophe that resulted from that poor decision making. Number 5. Here we go to the mega cast. The Longest Day. Interesting fact, which I was not aware of, but had just recently learned, that between 1962-63 and 1993, The Longest Day was the most expensive black and white film ever made. Now, you tell me, what film was made in 1993 in black and white that would have been more expensive? Schindler's List. Kind of a trick question. Except that they're both in black and white. There you go. Anyway, here we have even more of a star-studded cast. And who leads the pack? You know who. John Wayne, Henry Fonda, Robert Mitchum. Again, Sean Connery, Peter Lawford, Rob Steiger, Edmund O'Brien, Kenneth more. And it goes on and on and on. And here, if you go to the Wikipedia page, which is what I'm using, I'm kind of clicking back and forth, you will see the unbelievable lists of actors. Paul Anka, he's in there. Paul Anka, what are you doing in there? He's there. Holy smokes. Alexander Knox, I already said Robert Mitchum, he's there too. And then all the British actors, Peter Lawford, I already mentioned him. John Robinson, French actors, German actors, holy smokes. All in all, wow, what a film. And it really, still a simple telling of the D-Day initiatives and the D-Day campaign, but done in such a grand scope. And it was a predecessor and really an inspiration for many of the movies that would follow it, which would be not only about World War II, but about the Allied invasion. Which leads us to another film about World War II and about the Allied invasion, kind of, Patton. I want to give a shout out to my friend Anna. You know who you are, Anna. Right on. I'll tag you in the video, don't worry. And she, like me, we just love this movie. Actually, you know, I'll throw it out for Deb and her family too. They also dig it. Holy smokes. And the music is good. You remember that trumpet? Whoa. Okay, that's enough. That's good stuff. George C. Scott. And that nose. Oh my gosh. As good as the movie is, the speculation surrounding the movie is even better. Talking about how he was so difficult to work with during the film and all this. Patton. There it is. Number 3. Want to keep moving. Want to go fast. Apocalypse Now. I don't think I have to say anything else. Holy smokes. Go back and watch it and watch for Lawrence Fishburne. And a very slim Robert Duvall. I just don't feel like I can get into it right now. Apocalypse Now. Whoa. Number 2. We're almost there. One of my personal favorites, Peter O'Toole, Lawrence of Arabia. Now here you've got a grand, super epic film that deals with a super grand campaign in the desert, of course. But still, zoom, focused on this one man and his involvement in this grand campaign. And the character development, and the setting, and the scenery, and the music, and the ensemble, and I mean, it all comes together for me in Lawrence of Arabia. But not as strongly as it did in my number 1. Can you guess? Saving Private Ryan. I want to address the criticisms. I'm going to try and wrap it up. I'm about to close. I want to address the criticism that the only reason this film is heralded so greatly is because Steven Spielberg managed 20 minutes of greatness in the beginning and 15 minutes of greatness in the end with those super intense action scenes. Now that's not untrue. They are incredible action scenes. And I think those of us who have seen it can agree that those are some stirring scenes, especially seeing these young men, you know, strewn on the beach, crying for their mothers and all of this stuff. Whoa. But the complexity and the psychology of the film is also, I think, awfully impressive. Not to manage the way that this story is told so well. And watch it again, and watch for all the times when the movie could end. When you feel, really, that the drama has come to a close. Like the whole story could just drop right there. Oh, we can't find him, we're going home. But then there's that little sliver, the little that helps to move the movie along. It is unbelievable. And it's always something small like that. A little hint, a little clue, a little whisper that keeps moving a grand movie like this along, or that helps a grand movie like that to move along. It can't always be a titanic force, a monumental force that pushes and pushes and pushes. Little things pull a good plot line along. And we see that in Saving Private Ryan. And of course, it does not hurt that Tom Hanks is so good. It seems that he's always so good. Okay. That's it. There's a top 10. Deal with it. You're okay with it? I hope you are. But there are some runner-ups that I wanted to give credence to, at least mention quickly. Okay? Black Hawk Down. I'm not going to really say much about them. I just want to mention some ones that were they were in my head, but I couldn't throw them in just for one reason or the other. Black Hawk Down. Pearl Harbor. I will say that if it had not been for that romance plot, the action in Pearl Harbor would have been spot on. Full Metal Jacket. Now, I thought about that one. I really thought. But you kind of get two movies in one with Full Metal Jacket. You get that whole rough and really difficult, basic training movie up front. And then you get the boys when they go to Vietnam, and you get all of that difficulty as well. But I just was not feeling like it measured up to some of these other films. Again, I'm not saying necessarily that I'm going to say that We Were Soldiers is better than Full Metal Jacket. This is my personal list, okay? This is my own opinion. But for me, personally, it wasn't quite there. The Thin Red Line was a movie that did not have those little strings, for me, that carried it along. It mostly just felt like a lot of yelling that tried to move the plot line along. But still, some of the drama and the way that we understood that these young men dealt with the situation they were in, it was very stirring. I liked it, but it just couldn't get in the top 10. And then no submarine movies. I mentioned in the last one how much I love the submarine movies. But here, Hunt for October, which is in my top 10, I'll just say it now. The story is not set during wartime. It's kind of Cold War-ish, but it's not really during the Cold War. K-19, The Widowmaker, we can't forgive Harrison Ford's accent. Even though this is a pretty good movie, but the accents were so awful. U-571, pretty good, but I did not feel like it was going to measure up to some of the other films in the top 10, or even Das Boot. Epic and legendary and classic as it is, I didn't feel like it could stand its ground with some of these other titles. So there you are, my top 10 war films. Okay, next week we'll keep going. Maybe we'll do drama next week, so we can actually have some real drama plot. Okay, as always, thank you for watching, and please click in the region below and put in your own top 10. Okay, what are your thoughts? What are your preferences? What do you like? What do you not like? What is your favorite war film? What is your most despised war film? Where do you think I was right? Where do you think I was wrong? Be nice, as always, and thank you for being very cordial last time. It was excellent conversation. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think, okay, when I bring you into the conversation. And so, I'm going to stop this thing right now, or as soon as I finish talking. I'm going to get onto the reviews. I'm going to get to editing this video, see if it works out okay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.